Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was far from Earth, patrolling the empty space near the edge of human territory. Jake had been doing this job for 10 years, and most days were quiet. Today felt different. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors," said Lisa Rodriguez from her station. She was the ship's tactical officer, and Jake trusted her completely. Lisa never got excited about nothing. Jake walked over to her console. "What kind of strange?" "Multiple contacts, sir. Big ones, coming from outside our solar system." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "I count at least 500 ships. Maybe more." Sam Turner looked up from the engineering station. He was a big man with steady hands, perfect for keeping the ship running. "That's impossible. No one has that many ships in one place." Amy Clark spun around in her communications chair. She was young but smart, always listening to radio signals from across space. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions. They're not human." Jake felt his stomach drop. For 50 years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was coming with 500 warships. "Put it on speaker, Amy." The bridge filled with alien voices speaking in a language none of them understood. But the tone was clear. These were military communications. Orders being given, plans being made. "How long until they reach Earth?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her readings again. "At their current speed, about 6 hours." Jake walked back to his captain's chair. 6 hours. That was not enough time to warn Earth and get help. The USS Valiant was just one small ship with a crew of 50 people. What could they do against 500 alien vessels? Far away on Earth, General Marcus Kane was having his morning coffee when the emergency alert came through. He was sitting in his office deep inside Cheyenne Mountain, the place where Earth's military leaders made their biggest decisions. Coffee cup slipped from his hands when he read the message from the USS Valiant. "Get me President Brooks on the line right now," he told his assistant. President Helen Brooks was in the White House, meeting with her cabinet about trade deals and budget problems. Normal things that seemed very small when her phone rang with news that aliens were coming to invade Earth. "How many ships did you say?" she asked General Kane over the secure video link. "At least 500, maybe more. Captain Morrison's ship detected them 6 hours out from Earth. They'll be here soon." Helen Brooks had been president for 3 years. She had dealt with hurricanes, economic problems, and political fights. But this was something no president had ever faced before. "What do we have to defend ourselves?" "Our space fleet has 50 ships. Good ships, but ... General Kane did not need to finish. Everyone could do the math. 50 against 500 was not good odds. On the USS Valiant, Amy Clark suddenly straightened up. "Captain, they're broadcasting something on all frequencies. I think it's meant for us." "Put it through the translator computer." The bridge speakers crackled, and then a cold mechanical voice spoke in English. "Primitive species of the third planet, you will surrender immediately. Resistance is futile. You have 72 hours to submit to the Galactic Empire, or your world will be destroyed." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa's face was pale but determined. Sam was already checking the ships. Weapons systems. Amy was recording everything for Earth Command. "Send a message to Earth," Jake ordered. "Tell them what we heard, then plot a course back home. If Earth is going to make a stand, the Valiant will be there." The alien fleet was huge. Admiral Keffer stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet ahead. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes like black holes. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Galactic Empire, and this one would be easy. "Report," he said to his communications officer. The surrender demand has been transmitted, Admiral. No response yet. Cathver smiled, showing sharp teeth. They probably need time to understand how hopeless their situation is. These primitive species always do. Ambassador Zara Velthan stepped forward. She was the Empire's expert on dealing with new species. Her job was to make conquest look like a favor. Admiral, should we prepare the standard occupation protocols? Yes. Assume. They will surrender. Humans are clearly too primitive to pose any real threat. Back on Earth, Dr. Ryan Bell was deep underground in a laboratory that did not officially exist. He had been working on Project Titan for 20 years. Only a few dozen people in the entire world knew what he was really doing down here. His computer screen showed the alien fleet approaching, right on schedule, just like the deep space monitoring stations had predicted months ago. Dr. Bell picked up a red phone that connected directly to General Kane. Sir, it's time. Are you sure we're ready? Doctor. Bell looked around his laboratory. 20 years of work. The most ambitious project in human history. We're as ready as we'll ever be. General Kane's voice was quiet. Then God help us all. Activate Project Titan. Dr. Bell hung up the phone and turned to his team. You heard the man. Wake up the Leviathan. President Brooks addressed the nation. That evening, she stood behind her desk in the Oval Office, looking directly into the camera. Around the world, billions of people watched and listened. My fellow humans, she began. Today we learned that we are not alone in the universe. An alien force calling itself the Galactic Empire has demanded our surrender. They believe we are primitive and weak. They believe we will give up without a fight. They are wrong. She paused, thinking about things she could not tell the people. Secret projects and hidden weapons. Plans that had been made long before anyone knew aliens existed. We will not surrender. We will not give up. We are human beings, and we will defend our home. On the USS Valiant, Captain Morrison and his crew watched the president's speech. They were still hours away from Earth, racing home as fast as there. Engines could push them. Think we have a chance, Captain? Sam asked. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 500 alien warships were getting closer to Earth every minute. Behind them, Earth had 50 ships and whatever secret weapons the government might have hidden away. I think we're about to find out what humans are really made of, he said. The countdown had begun. 72 hours until the aliens expected Earth's surrender. But deep in Cheyenne Mountain, Dr. Bell and his team were already working. Project Titan was waking up, and the Galactic Empire was about to learn that humans were full of surprises. The USS Valiant was still 2 hours from Earth when Captain Morrison received new orders. The message came through on the most secure channel the military had, one that only a few people in the entire fleet could access. Captain, Amy Clark said, looking confused at her communications panel. I'm getting orders to change course. We're not going to Earth. Jake walked over to read the message himself. The orders were simple, but made no sense. Instead of racing home to defend Earth, the Valiant was supposed to go to coordinates in the asteroid belt, a place where nothing should exist except floating rocks and ice. Are you sure this is real? Jake asked. Amy checked the codes 3 times. Yes, sir. It's coming from the highest command level. Someone very important wants us at these coordinates. Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her tactical station. Captain, those coordinates are in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing there but asteroids. Sam Turner shook his head. This doesn't make sense. Earth is about to be attacked, and they want us to go look at rocks? Jake stared at the message for a long moment. His first instinct was to ignore the orders and head straight to Earth. But these orders came from people who knew things he didn't. People who had been planning for this day long before aliens showed up. Set course for the coordinates, he ordered. Maximum speed. The alien fleet was getting closer to Earth. Admiral Kethvar watched the blue planet grow larger on his main screen. His ships were spread out in perfect formation, ready to destroy any resistance the humans might offer. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting the human fleet moving to intercept us. 53 ships total. Kethvar laughed. 53 ships against our 500? These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Should we prepare for battle? Hardly necessary. When they see the size of our fleet, they'll surrender. Immediately. No primitive species has ever been foolish enough to fight the Empire when so outnumbered. But the humans were not behaving like other primitive species. Earth's fleet was not running away or trying to hide. Instead, they were forming up in defensive positions around their homeworld, ready to fight despite impossible odds. The USS Valiant reached the coordinates 12 hours before the aliens would arrive at Earth. Jake expected to find empty space, but his sensors immediately detected something impossible. "Captain," Lisa said, her voice filled with amazement, "you need to see this." On the main screen, what looked like a large asteroid suddenly came to life. Lights appeared on its surface. Docking ports opened. The rock wasn't a rock at all. "What is that thing?" Sam whispered. Before anyone could answer, they received a transmission from the asteroid station. "USS Valiant, this is Station Alpha 7. You are cleared for docking. Welcome to Project Titan." Jake had heard rumors about secret projects, but nothing like this. As the Valiant approached the station, he could see that the entire asteroid had been hollowed out and turned into a massive space base. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Commander Kate Phillips met them at the docking port. She was a tall woman with gray hair and the kind of confidence that came from knowing important secrets. Her uniform had patches Jake didn't recognize, from units that didn't officially exist. "Captain Morrison, I'm glad you made it safely. I know you have questions, but first you need to see what we've been building." She led Jake and his senior officers through corridors carved from solid rock. The station was much bigger than it looked from outside. Thousands of people worked here, all wearing the same mysterious patches. "How long has this place existed?" Jake asked. 30 years, Commander Phillips replied. "We started building the day after the first deep space probe detected signs of alien civilizations. The government decided that if aliens ever came to Earth, we needed to be ready with more than just hope." They walked into a massive chamber at the heart of the station. Through a huge window, Jake saw something that made him forget how to breathe. It was a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling the ocean a puddle. The vessel stretched out for kilometers in every direction. It was sleek and dark, covered in weapons and armor that looked like nothing humans had ever built before. "The USS Leviathan," Commander Phillips said proudly. "The largest warship ever, constructed by any species in the galaxy. At least, as far as we know." Chief designer Alex Morgan joined them at the window. He was a thin man with excited eyes, the kind of person who lived for building impossible things. 15 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide. She carries 2,000 fighters, each one more advanced than anything in Earth's regular fleet. Jake could barely find words. "How did you keep this secret?" "Something this big. The asteroid field was perfect cover," Morgan explained. "We hollowed out the biggest rock we could find and built the ship inside. From the outside, it looks like just another asteroid. Our stealth technology makes it invisible to all known scanning methods." Lisa Rodriguez was studying the ship's design. "Captain, look at those weapon arrays. This thing could take on an entire fleet by itself." "That's exactly what it was designed to do," Commander Phillips said. "We knew that if aliens ever came to conquer Earth, they would bring overwhelming force. So we built overwhelming force of our own. Sam Turner pointed at the ship's engines. Those power systems are incredible. What's driving something that big? Fusion reactors based on technology we developed specifically for this project, Morgan sighed. The Leviathan can fight for months without refueling. Her shields can deflect planet-killing weapons. Her armor can survive a direct hit from anything the Empire has. Amy Clark was quiet, trying to process everything she was seeing. How many people know about this? Maybe 1,000 total, Commander Phillips replied. Scientists, engineers, military personnel. Everyone who worked on the project has been living here for years. Their families think they're on deep space. Assignments. Jake walked closer to the window. The ship was so big that he couldn't see both ends of it at the same time. Thousands of workers moved around it like ants, making final preparations. Who's going to command it? Captain Tony Hayes. He's been training for this mission for 10 years. The crew is 50,000 of Earth's best military personnel, all volunteers, who knew they might never see home again. As if summoned by his name, Captain Hayes appeared in the observation deck. He was a man in his 50s with steady eyes and the bearing of someone who had commanded ships his entire life. But Jake could tell this was different. Hayes looked like a man preparing for the most important battle in human history. Captain Morrison, Hayes said, shaking Jake's hand. I've heard good things about you and your crew. Sorry, we had to keep you in the dark, but operational security was essential. I understand, sir. But why bring us here now? Hayes looked out at the Leviathan. Because in a few hours, that ship is going to reveal itself to the galaxy. When it does, everything changes. The aliens think they're facing a primitive species with 50 outdated ships. Instead, they're about to meet the most powerful warship ever built. Commander Phillips activated a wall display showing the alien fleet's position. They'll reach Earth in 8 hours. The Leviathan will be ready. What about Earth's regular fleet? Jake asked. They'll put up a good fight. Hayes said, make the aliens think they're seeing everything humanity has to offer. Meanwhile, the Leviathan will position itself for maximum surprise. Dr. Bell's voice came over the station's communication system. All personnel, this is Control. Project Titan is now fully active. The Leviathan is cleared for launch. Repeat. The Leviathan is cleared for launch. Through the window, Jake watched as the massive ship began to move. It slid out of the hollowed asteroid like a sword being drawn from its sheath. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. 50,000 people, Jake said quietly. That's more than live in some entire cities. They all volunteered. Captain Hayes said, every single one of them knew the risks. They knew they might be humanity's last hope. The Leviathan cleared the asteroid and hung in space like a dark mountain. Its weapons powered up, casting an eerie glow along its hull. Fighter bays opened, revealing row after row of advanced combat ships. The aliens are about to learn something important, Commander Phillips said, watching the massive vessel prepare for war. They think humans are primitive. They think we're weak. They're about to discover that the most dangerous thing in the universe is a species that's been planning for 30 years to prove them wrong. Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at the Leviathan with the same expression of awe and determination. What are our orders? The Valiant will coordinate with the Leviathan's fighter squadrons, Hayes explained. Your ship is small and fast, perfect for directing the battle and making sure our fighters find their targets. As the Leviathan moved toward its attack position, Jake realized that everything he thought he knew about Earth's military strength was wrong. The aliens were expecting to fight 50 ships. Instead, they were about to face something that would rewrite the rules of space warfare forever. Admiral Kethfer stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The human fleet was spread out before his ships, 53 vessels trying to look threatening. He almost felt sorry for them. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, the human ships are taking defensive positions around their planet. They appear ready to fight. Foolish, Kethver said. Open a channel to their fleet commander. I'll give them one last chance to surrender before we destroy them. The communication went through to Admiral Sarah Knox, commander of Earth's space fleet. She was on the bridge of the battleship USS Liberty, watching the alien armada approach. Her ships were outnumbered 10-1, but her orders were clear. Make the aliens think they were seeing everything Earth had. This is Admiral Kethver of the Galactic Empire. The alien commander's voice came through the speakers. Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Knox looked around her bridge. Her crew was ready to fight and die for Earth. This is Admiral Knox of the Earth Defense Fleet. We don't surrender to bullies. Come and take our planet if you can. Kethver laughed at the humans' defiance. So be it. All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human fleet, then begin bombardment of the planet. The Empire's massive fleet moved forward like a wave of death. Their weapons powered up, ready to wipe out Earth's defenders in minutes. Kethver had done this many times before. Primitive species always thought they could fight. The Empire. They were always wrong, but as the first shots were fired, something impossible happened. Deep in space, hidden behind a large asteroid, the USS Leviathan dropped its stealth field. The massive ship appeared like a ghost becoming solid, its dark hull reflecting the light of distant stars. It was so big that it cast shadows on nearby asteroids. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Tony Hayes watched the Empire fleet through his main display. His ship was positioned perfectly, behind the aliens and completely unseen until now. All stations report ready for combat, announced his tactical officer, Commander Donna Foster. She was a woman who had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. Squadron commanders report ready for launch, added Lieutenant Colonel Beth Turner, who led the ship's fighter wings. 2,000 fighters were loaded and waiting in the Leviathan's massive hangar bays. Captain Hayes looked at his crew. 50,000 people who had given up normal lives to serve on humanity's secret weapon. This is it, people. Everything we've trained for. Show the galaxy what humans can do. The first Empire ships detected the Leviathan when it was too late to react. Their sensors screamed warnings about a massive energy signature appearing behind their fleet. But the Empire commanders couldn't believe what they were seeing. What is that? Kethver demanded, staring at his tactical display. The computer showed a ship larger than his entire flagship squadron combined. Unknown, sir. It's huge. Bigger than anything in our databases. Kethvar felt the first touch of fear. In 300 years of conquest, the Empire had never seen anything like this. How did the humans build something that size? They're supposed to be primitive. On Earth, Dr. Bell watched the battle begin from his underground command center. 30 years of work was about to be tested in the most important fight in human history. Leviathan is engaging, reported his communication officer. All systems showing green. General Kane stood beside him, watching displays that showed both fleets. God help us all. Either we just saved Earth, or we're about to watch our secret weapon get destroyed. The Leviathan opened fire first. Its main weapons were unlike anything any species had ever built. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the ship fired concentrated gravity pulses that could crush a battleship like a tin can. The first, Empire ship hit by the gravity cannon simply collapsed into itself, becoming a ball of twisted metal in seconds. The second ship tried to raise shields, but the Leviathan's weapons went right through them like they didn't exist. All fighters launch. Captain Hayes ordered. The Leviathan's hangar bays opened, and 2,000 human fighters poured out like angry hornets. Each fighter was equipped with stealth, technology, and quantum torpedoes that could punch through any known armor. Squadron. Commander Nick Adams led the first wave of fighters. He was a pilot who had been flying combat missions since he was 18. But nothing had prepared him for this. "This is Eagle Squadron," he reported over the radio. "We have targets everywhere." Beginning attack run. His wingman, Lieutenant Sarah Knox, stayed close as they dove toward the Empire fleet. "Nick, look at the size of their ships. Are our weapons going to work on something that big?" "Only one way to find out," Nick replied, locking onto an Empire. Cruiser. Fox 1. Torpedo away. The quantum torpedo hit the alien ship's engine section and exploded with the force of a small star. The entire back half of the cruiser disappeared in a flash of light. "Direct hit," Sarah reported. "The big ships have weak spots. Target their engines and weapon arrays." Back on the USS Valiant, Captain Morrison and his crew watched the battle unfold. Their job was to coordinate the fighter attacks and provide real-time intelligence to the Leviathan. "Captain," Lisa Rodriguez reported, "our fighters are tearing through their formation. The aliens don't know how to fight something this advanced." Pete Grant, the Valiant's intelligence officer, was analyzing the Empire's tactics. "Sir, they're trying to group their ships together for concentrated fire. But every time they form up, the Leviathan hits them with those gravity weapons." On the Leviathan's bridge, Weapons Officer Carl Johnson controlled the ship's incredible firepower. "Captain, I have a clear shot at their flagship." "Permission to fire?" Captain Hayes studied the tactical display. The Empire's command ship was larger than anything else in their fleet, covered in heavy armor and surrounded by escort vessels. "Take the shot, Carl." The Leviathan's main gun powered up, drawing energy from the ship's massive fusion reactors. When it fired, the gravity pulse was so powerful it created a visible distortion in space itself. Admiral Kethfer watched in horror as the pulse approached his flagship. All power to forward shields. Emergency maneuvers. It didn't matter. The gravity weapon hit the Empire flagship like the fist of an angry god. The ship's shields collapsed instantly. Its armor crumpled like paper. The entire front section of the vessel was crushed into a ball of scrap metal. Kethfer was thrown to the floor as his bridge exploded around him. Emergency lights flashed red as his ship died around him. "Admiral!" his communications officer shouted through the smoke. "We're losing ships faster than we can count them. Our weapons can't penetrate their defenses." Kethfer pulled himself up, blood running down his face. For the first time in his military career, he was looking at defeat. Complete, total defeat by a species he had thought was primitive. The human fighters were everywhere, moving too fast for the Empire's weapons to track. Their torpedoes cut through alien armor like it was made of cloth. Every few seconds, another Empire ship exploded or simply ceased to exist under the Leviathan's impossible weapons. Commander Foster reported the battle's progress to Captain Hayes. "Sir, we've destroyed 60% of their fleet. The remainder are trying to retreat, but our fighters are staying with them." "What about casualties on our side?" "Light, sir. We've lost maybe 50 fighters out of 2,000. "The Leviathan hasn't taken any significant damage?" Hayes nodded grimly. The battle was going exactly as planned, but he took no joy in the destruction. "Continue the attack. We can't let any of them escape to report back to their empire." On Earth, Admiral Knox watched through her ship's sensors as the Leviathan systematically destroyed an entire invasion fleet. Her own ships hadn't fired a shot. They didn't need to. "Communications. Get me a secure channel to the Leviathan," she ordered. Captain Hayes appeared on her main screen, his bridge calm and professional, despite the incredible battle raging around his ship. "Admiral Knox, it's good to see you," Hayes said. "Sorry we couldn't let you in on the secret sooner." "Captain, that's the most beautiful ship I've ever seen." "How long have you been planning this?" 30 years. Every detail, every weapon, every system designed for this exact moment. Around them, the Empire fleet continued to die. The aliens had expected to fight primitive humans with outdated weapons. Instead, they had encountered technology so advanced it seemed like magic. "Squadron?" Commander Adams and his pilots were finishing off the last Empire escorts when something unexpected happened. The alien ships suddenly stopped fighting back. "Eagle Squadron, this is command," came the voice from the Leviathan. "The enemy fleet is attempting to surrender. Hold fire and await orders." Nick looked at his displays. The few remaining Empire ships had their weapons powered down and were broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies. But Captain Hayes had different orders. All ships continue the attack. No survivors. No witnesses. The battle had one purpose: to keep Earth's true strength secret. If even one Empire ship escaped to tell the story, the secret would be ruined. The galaxy would know that humans had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. "You heard the captain," Nick told his squadron. "Finish them off." Within an hour, it was over. 500 Empire warships had been reduced to floating debris. Not a single alien vessel survived to carry word back to their home worlds. The USS Leviathan hung in. The battlefield was silent, except for the crackle of energy from destroyed alien ships. Debris floated in space where the Galactic Empire's mighty fleet had been just hours before. 500 warships reduced to twisted metal and fading energy. Signatures. Captain Tony Hayes stood on the Leviathan's bridge, looking out at the destruction. His ship hung motionless among the wreckage, completely undamaged. The victory had been so complete, it almost didn't feel real. "Final damage report," he said to Commander Gadafoster. "Minimal damage to the Leviathan, sir. We lost 63 fighters out of 2,000 launched. The ship itself took no significant hits." Foster paused, checking her displays again. "Sir, the Empire fleet has been completely destroyed. No survivors detected." Hayes nodded. It was what they had planned for, but seeing it happen was still overwhelming. "What about their flagship?" "Any sign of Admiral Kethfer?" "Negative, sir. The gravity cannon hit took out their entire command section. If he survived the initial impact, he wouldn't have lasted long in vacuum." On Earth, President Helen Brooks sat in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. She was surrounded by military advisors and cabinet members, all watching displays that showed the aftermath of the battle. "It's over?" she asked General Kane. "Yes, ma'am. Complete victory. The alien invasion fleet has been destroyed." Brooks leaned back in her chair, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders that she hadn't realized was there. For 3 days, she had been preparing to lead humanity through its darkest hour. Instead, they had achieved their greatest triumph. Casualties? Light. We lost some fighter pilots, but the Leviathan is intact. Admiral Knox's fleet never had to engage directly. Dr. Bell's voice came through the secure communication link from his underground laboratory. "Madam President, from a technical standpoint, the operation was a complete success. Every system performed exactly as designed. Dr. Bell, I want you to know that your work may have saved our entire species." "Thank you, Mom. But our work isn't finished yet. The next phase is the most critical." President Brooks knew what he meant. Winning the battle was only half the mission. Now they had to make sure the victory stayed secret. On the USS Valiant, Captain Morrison and his crew were collecting data from the battle. Their small ship had stayed on the edges of the fighting, coordinating between the Leviathan and the fighter squadrons. "Captain, Pete Grant said, looking up from his intelligence station. "I've been analyzing the alien communications we intercepted. The Empire had no idea we possessed this level of technology." "What were they saying?" "Right up until the end. They thought we were just a primitive species with old weapons." When the Leviathan appeared, their fleet commanders kept asking their computers to identify the ship. The computers had no answer. Lisa Rodriguez was studying the tactical recordings. "Captain, look at this." The aliens never adapted their tactics. They kept using the same strategies that work against primitive species. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Amy Clark had been monitoring all communication frequencies during the battle. "Sir, I intercepted several attempts by the alien ships to send distress calls back to their empire. None of them got through." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. Communications Officer Lucy Barnes on the Leviathan had done her job perfectly. The Empire's homeworlds would never learn what really happened to their invasion fleet. Squadron commander Nick Adams was leading his remaining fighters back to the Leviathan's hangar bays. The battle had been unlike anything he had trained for. The human fighters had been so superior to the alien ships that it felt more like target practice than combat. "Control, this is Eagle Squadron returning for landing," he reported. "Roger. Eagle Squadron, Base 7 is clear for your approach." As Nick guided his fighter into the massive hangar, he looked around at the other pilots landing nearby. They had just participated in the most important victory in human history, but they all knew they could never talk about it. Lieutenant Sarah Knox pulled her fighter in beside his. When they climbed out of their ships, she walked over with a grin on her face. "Well, that was easier than expected," she said. "Almost too easy. Those alien ships couldn't touch us. That's what 30 years of secret weapons development will do for you." Back on Earth, the regular population was celebrating. They had watched their defense fleet take positions to protect the planet, then seen the alien invaders simply disappear from all sensors. The government's official story was that Earth's brave defenders had fought off the aliens in a hard-won victory. Only a few thousand people knew the truth. The celebration was real, but the victory had been achieved by a ship that didn't officially exist, crewed by people who were supposed to be on routine deep space assignments in orbit around Earth. Admiral Sarah Knox was meeting with her fleet commanders. Her ships had barely participated in the battle, but they would get the credit for saving humanity. "I know this is difficult," she told her officers. "We trained our entire careers to defend Earth, and when the moment came, someone else did the fighting for us." "Admiral," said Captain Gary Miller of the destroyer USS Phoenix, "I've never seen anything like that ship. How long has it existed?" "I can't give you details, but I can tell you that some very smart people have been planning for this day for a very long time." "What happens now?" Admiral Knox looked out at the debris field where the alien fleet had been destroyed. "Now we go back to normal patrols. We never speak of what we saw today, and we trust that whoever built that ship knows what they're doing." On the Leviathan, Captain Hayes was receiving new orders from Earth Command. The battle was over, but the mission was entering its most delicate phase. "All department heads to the bridge," he announced over the ship's communication system. Within minutes, his senior staff had assembled. These were the people who had helped him command humanity's greatest weapon through its first and most important battle. "People," Hayes began, "what we accomplished today was incredible. We defeated an entire invasion fleet without losing a single major ship. The Empire learned nothing about our true capabilities, and Earth is safe." Lieutenant Colonel Beth Turner, who had commanded the fighter squadrons, spoke up. "Sir, what about the pilots we lost? Their families think they're on routine patrol missions. Their sacrifice will be honored, but it has to be done quietly. They died defending Earth, but the world can never know exactly how." Weapons Officer Carl Johnson looked troubled. "Captain, it feels wrong to win such an important victory. and then hide it. I understand, Carl. But if the galaxy learns what we're capable of, every alien empire will come for us. Not one at a time, but all together. We're not ready for that fight. Commander Foster was studying the post-battle reports. Sir, the stealth systems worked perfectly. As far as anyone outside this room knows, the Leviathan doesn't exist. That's how it has to stay, Hayes said firmly. We're going to disappear again. Return to the shadows. Let the galaxy think Earth is just another primitive planet with lucky defenders. Intelligence Officer Pete Grant raised his hand. Captain, what if other empires investigate what happened here? They might notice that an entire fleet just vanished. Dr. Bell's team has been working on that problem for years. There will be evidence of a massive space battle, debris from alien ships, signs of advanced weapons. But nothing that points directly to human technology. It will look like the Empire fleet encountered some kind of unknown phenomena. Hayes walked to the main window, looking out at the wreckage floating in space. The Empire will assume their fleet was destroyed by natural forces or unknown aliens. They'll mark this system as dangerous and stay away. For how long? Asked Lieutenant Colonel Turner. Long enough for us to get stronger. The Leviathan was just the first ship. Dr. Bell's people are already working on the next generation. By the time the galaxy figures out what really happened here, we'll be ready for anything they can throw at us. The bridge was quiet as everyone absorbed the implications. They had just won the greatest victory in human history, and now they had to pretend it never happened. One more thing, Captain Hayes said. What we did today proved something important. When humans are pushed to the wall, when we're facing extinction, we don't just fight back. We fight back with everything we have, and we win. He looked around at his crew, these 50,000 people who had given up normal lives to serve on a ship that didn't exist. The Empire thought we were primitive. They thought we were weak. Today we showed them what humans are really capable of. And tomorrow we'll make sure they never get the chance to threaten Earth again. Outside the ship, the debris from 500 alien warships continued to drift in the cold vacuum of space. It was all that remained of the Galactic Empire's attempt to conquer humanity. The victory was complete, but the real work was just beginning. 3 days after the battle, Captain Tony Hayes received orders that surprised even him. The message came directly from Dr. Bell's command center, encrypted with codes that only a handful of people in the entire government could access. Sir, Commander Dana Foster said, reading the orders on his private screen, they want us to activate the quantum stealth drive. Hayes had known this moment come, but it still felt strange. The USS Leviathan had just won the most important victory in human history, and now it had to disappear completely. Pass the word to all department heads. We're going dark. The quantum stealth drive was Dr. Bell's greatest achievement. It didn't just make the ship invisible to sensors. It phased the entire vessel out of normal spacetime, making it exist in a dimension where nothing could detect it. On Earth, President, Brooks was in her private office speaking with General Kane over a secure video link. Are you sure this is necessary? She asked. The ship just saved our entire planet. Madam President, the Leviathan's existence has to remain absolutely secret. If other alien empires learn that humans have this kind of technology, they'll unite. Against us, we're not ready to fight the entire galaxy. Brooks understood the logic, but it still felt wrong. What about the crew? 50,000 people just vanish from existence? They knew the risks when they volunteered. Every single person on that ship understood they might never be able to return to normal life. Dr. Bell's voice joined the conversation from his underground laboratory. The quantum stealth drive will allow the Leviathan to continue protecting Earth while remaining completely hidden. It's the perfect solution. On the USS Valiant, Captain Morrison was preparing his ship to return to normal patrol duties. His crew had witnessed humanity's greatest secret, and now they had to pretend they had never seen it. "Captain," Lisa Rodriguez said quietly, "what do we tell people when they ask about the battle?" "We tell them the truth. Earth's defense fleet fought off an alien invasion. We just don't mention the part about the 15-kilometer-long secret warship. Sam Turner was running final checks on the ship's systems. It's going to be hard to go back to normal missions after seeing something like that." "I know, Sam, but that's our job now. Keep the secret and keep protecting Earth the normal way." Amy Clark had been thinking about the implications of what they had witnessed. "Captain, do you think there are other secret projects we don't know about?" Morrison looked out at the space where the Leviathan was preparing to vanish forever. "After what we've seen, Amy, I think there are a lot of things we don't know about." On the Leviathan, Chief Designer Alex Morgan was making final preparations for the quantum stealth activation. He had spent 20 years developing the technology, but this would be the first time it was used on something as large as their ship. "All systems ready, Captain," he reported to Hayes. "Once we activate the drive, we'll be completely cut off from normal space. No communication with Earth. No way for anyone to detect us." "How long can we stay in quantum stealth?" "Indefinitely, sir. The drive runs off our main fusion reactors. As long as we have power, we can stay hidden." Captain Hayes looked around his bridge one last time. His crew of 50,000 had become the most secret military unit in human history. They would continue to exist, continue to protect Earth, but the world would never know they were there. "All hands, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's communication system. "In a few minutes, we will activate the quantum stealth drive. When we do, the USS Leviathan will disappear from normal space. We will become humanity's hidden guardian." Throughout the massive ship, people stopped what they were doing to listen. They were soldiers, pilots, engineers, and scientists who had given up everything to serve on a vessel that didn't officially exist. "I know this is difficult," Hayes continued. "We just won the greatest victory in human history, and now we have to pretend it never happened. But our mission is more important than recognition. Our mission is to keep Earth safe, no matter what the cost." Squadron Commander Nick Adams was in the fighter bay, checking on the pilots who had survived the battle. Many of them were young, barely out of flight school when they volunteered for the secret project. "Commander," asked Lieutenant Sarah Knox, "what happens to us now? Do we just disappear? We become legends that no one will ever hear about." Nick replied, "We're the pilots who saved Earth, and nobody will ever know our names. Is it worth it?" Nick looked around the hangar at the advanced fighters that had torn through the Empire fleet like it was made of paper. "Sarah, we just proved that humans can beat anyone in the galaxy. That's worth any sacrifice." Dr. Bell was monitoring the Leviathan's systems from his command center deep underground. 30 years of work was about to reach its final phase. "Quantum stealth drive shows all green lights," reported his technical officer. "The ship is ready for phase transition." "Dr. Bell," came Captain Hayes' voice over the communication link, "we're ready to activate on your command." Bell looked around his laboratory at the people who had helped make the impossible real. "Captain Hayes, you and your crew are about to become the galaxy's greatest secret. Good luck, and thank you for everything." "Thank you, sir. It's been an honor." The quantum stealth drive activated with no sound, no flash of light, no dramatic effects. One moment the USS Leviathan was visible on every sensor screen, and the next moment it simply wasn't there. Captain Morrison watched from the USS Valiant as the massive ship faded from existence like a ghost. "My God," he whispered. "They're really gone." "Sensors show nothing, Captain," Lisa reported. "It's like they never existed." But the Leviathan hadn't been destroyed. It had been moved to a parallel dimension where it could observe normal space but remained completely undetectable. The ship existed in a realm between realities, watching and waiting. On the bridge of the now invisible ship, Captain Hayes looked at displays that showed normal space around them. They could see everything, but nothing could see them. "Status report," he ordered. "All systems operating normally in quantum space," Commander Foster reported. "We can monitor all communications, track ship movements, observe everything happening. In normal space, what about our weapons? Can we still engage targets?" "Yes, sir. We can phase back into normal space long enough to fire, then disappear again. The enemy would never know what hit them." Months passed. On Earth, life returned to normal. The alien invasion became history, remembered as the day Earth's brave defenders fought off a superior enemy force. Parades were held, medals were awarded, and heroes were celebrated. But the real heroes remained hidden in quantum space, patrolling the galaxy's most dangerous regions, ensuring that no threat to Earth would ever go undetected. The Galactic Empire, meanwhile, was dealing with a mystery. An entire invasion fleet had vanished without sending a single distress call. The Empire's best scientists had no explanation for what happened in the Sol system. "Mark the system as a navigational hazard," ordered the Empire's High Command. "Something in that region destroys ships. Avoid it completely." Other alien empires received similar warnings. The Sol system became known as a place where fleets disappeared without explanation. Ships that ventured too close were found weeks later as floating debris, with no signs of what had destroyed them. What they didn't know was that Captain Hayes and the USS Leviathan were out there, watching and waiting. Any alien ship that showed hostile intent toward Earth simply vanished, becoming another unexplained mystery. Years later, the galaxy was full of stories about the Sol system and its mysterious defenders. Some species believed it was protected by ancient aliens. Others thought it was a natural phenomenon that destroyed anything that came too close. The truth was simpler and more terrifying. Earth was protected by humans who had learned to fight dirty, to plan ahead, and to keep their most powerful weapons hidden until the moment they were needed. In his quarters aboard the invisible ship, Captain Hayes kept a picture of Earth on his desk. He hadn't seen his home planet with his own eyes in 5 years, but he knew it was safe because he and his crew were out here, guarding it from the shadows. "Captain," came Commander Foster's voice over the intercom, "we're detecting 3 Empire scout ships approaching the outer edge of the Sol system." Hayes smiled grimly. "Battle stations. Let's remind them why they should stay away." The 3 alien ships were small and fast, probably sent to investigate the mysterious disappearances near Earth. Their crews never saw the massive shape that phased into normal space behind them. The USS Leviathan fired once, then disappeared, back into quantum space before the alien sensors could even register its presence. 3 more ships became unexplained debris, another mystery for the Empire to puzzle over. In the depths of space, humanity's greatest secret continued its eternal patrol. The galaxy thought Earth was protected by unknown forces or natural phenomena. The truth was both simpler and more complex. Earth was protected by humans who refused to give up, who planned for 30 years to defend their home, and who were willing to disappear from history to keep their world safe. The USS Leviathan and its 50,000 crew members had become legends that would never be told, heroes whose names would never be known, guardians who watched from a place where no one could see them, and in the cold vacuum of space where alien empires fear.